Camera's on. Hey, it's good to have you here this morning. I realize that we are coming up toward the end of the semester real quick, like really quickly. All right, and some of you are thinking too quickly. But just a couple things. The other day, we prayed for Maddie Wiggins at the beginning of our service, and I heard from Maddie yesterday, and she's on the mend. It's going to be a mend. But she was hoping to be released from the hospital yesterday and spend the evening at a friend's house and maybe even be able to get back up to campus today. So if you continue to pray for Maddie, that would be great. We're also coming up here to the end, and I told you that today was the final exam. And I didn't want to stress you all out because, when you take the final exams in class, right, what happens? The professor makes up the questions, and you have to figure out the answers, right? And the professor then becomes the judge of your answers. Were they good? Was that a 10 for a 10? Was that a 6 for a 10? Was that right? Was that wrong? How many of you prefer objective, like true, false, give me something to circle for the correct answer type of exams, right? How many of you like essays where you can just sort of ramble along and troll for points? Right? I gave an exam a number of years ago, and somebody on the last question wrote for 4 pages. It was going on and on and on and on and on. And the very last sentence said, I suppose it's as obvious to you by now as it is to me that I have no idea what the answer to this question is. All right, but today we're going to have a final exam. We've been looking at Psalm 133, but I, as the creator of the exam, have decided to make this open book. All right, and being open book, let's just read this together. How good and pleasant it is together. All right, work with me, people, right? How good, you all saw a final exam and froze in your seats. All right, here we go. This is supposed to be a feel-good moment, right? We're doing this. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion. For there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. There you go. You all got an A on your first exam of the exam season. That will help you in life. That may not help you in your classes, all right? But you'll still have to study for the others. Hey, this morning, I want to talk about journeys, the journeys that we take in life, right? Some of you just took a long journey. We take short journeys all the time. For some of you, when you wake up in the morning or at lunch or dinner, whenever you're waking up or getting around, you're like, got to walk all the way to Lane. I live in Lewis. It's a journey. It's a journey, right? And you can sort of see, have you ever noticed where Gordon's sidewalks all go? There's like intersections, there's like a maze, and it's basically where the college followed, like where the students just wear out the grass because it's too long a journey to walk all the way over here and turn the corner. So I'm just going to give you a little shortcut that just cuts off this like 3 feet, right, to get you there. So journeys. Do you know that when they built the dorms up on the hill, students could park behind Jenks? Huh? But you know what happened? They were all driving from the hill to Jenks. There was more traffic on this road than you could believe. Students like driving down, driving behind Jenks, like orbiting around like the shopping mall at Christmas, looking for a parking space, getting in, going in for their hour class, coming out, getting in their car, driving all the way back up, driving around up here, waiting for a parking space. It was crazy. So finally, the school said, and the faculty and staff were just always driving around looking for a parking space. So, it changed, and now you have to journey if you want to get to Jenks. How many of you sat in traffic on the way home or wherever you were going for Thanksgiving? Was it fun? Was it miserable? Was it worth it? You know what makes it worth it? The people who are at the other end of the traffic is what makes it worth it, right? So for some of you, you sat in traffic for a long time. For some of you, you flew. How many of you flew somewhere? How many of you got delayed at an airport? Yeah, welcome to my life. Right, delayed at an airport. Darius flew out of BWI. And he sent me this video.
Oh, look who I found.
Hey, Bob. Trina Hask, now painter. Hey.
Hey, now I know her. That's awesome. So she said hi, and hopefully we can all link up for some coffee or hot chocolate.
We both know Bob Whittet.
Yeah.
It's a small world, Bob.
So that means when we get the hot chocolate coffee, it's on him, right?
Yes. And hi, Gene.
Awesome.
There you go. Thanks, Darius. There you go. You know, that woman working at the Southwest counter, she lived down the street from me at my first church in Maryland. In fact, when I graduated from Gordon Conwell and went as a young seminary graduate to the Church of the Atonement in Silver Spring, Maryland, Trina Haast, I got there in January, and Trina Haast was a senior in the youth group for the last 4 months before she graduated and then went off to college. You know, Darius sent me, I watched that about a dozen times. You know, I posted it on Facebook because I thought it was fun. But you know what? It also teaches us on our journeys, God knows the people on our journeys. And the scary part is the people on our journeys sometimes know us or know the people who know us, right? So, but journeys, you know, we all go on them. This morning, I want us to look at another one of the themes of the four themes of Advent. And those are the themes that we say were signified by on the Advent wreath by the candles, right? And the themes were hope, faith, joy, and peace. Well, today I want to talk about faith. You know, we're a faith-based institution. We hear about it all the time. You can't read anything on Gordon that doesn't say it's a faith-based institution. Read the fine print at the bottom of all the web pages. But it comes to a broader question of faith and who and what do we have our faith in? Right? You see, because we all have faith. We all have faith. We have faith in things that we do every day and we don't even think about it. Right? Let me show you something that you have faith in. You have faith in these. You sit in all kinds of chairs at Gordon College. You sit in ones that are rigid with little desks that are stuck out this way. Then you get in some of the rooms over like a McDonald's. You got those like spinning ones that you can like play roller derby in. Right? You got all kinds of things. But the one thing I've never seen a Gordon student do is come in and go like this. Okay, you can begin. Right? You all just plunked in these pews. These pews aren't new. But you don't think anything of it. Yeah, now you're thinking about it. Think of the things that we put our faith in every day. You drive down the street, you put a lot of faith in those 2 yellow lines and that car coming in the other direction. That somehow these 2 yellow lines that are in no way an obstacle somehow will make everybody stay where they're supposed to be and nobody gets hurt. Everybody gets to go home. Right? We put faith in our GPS on our phone. Right? You punch that baby in, you have no idea where you are. You just know where you're going. Where are you? You're a little triangle. It's just sort of beeping along, and you're hoping that the line it's on is green as opposed to yellow or red. My dad, to the day he died, never understood GPS. He used to give me all kinds of advice. My dad loved to give travel advice. I'd be like, Dad, I'm driving home. I'm in Pennsylvania. He goes, all right, now how are you going to go? I'm like, I'm going the way the GPS tells me. No, that's not a good way. It's not a good way. You should go this way. You should go up 209 and cut up to 84 in northern Pennsylvania, then cut across 84 and up through Connecticut and come in that way. And I'm like, Dad, GPS is telling me I got to go over the George Washington Bridge. I got to cut through New Jersey. He goes, no, Bob. You don't want to do that. So one night I thought, all right. He said, like, what time are you supposed to get home? I said, my GPS says I will be home at 1 a.m. He goes, oh, it's taking you the wrong way. You got to go this way. So finally, I love my dad, and I thought, all right, I'm going to humor him because he was going to call me every 20 minutes to see where I was. And so I went in his route. And I got up to the northern part of Pennsylvania on 84 about 11:30 at night, and still hours from home. And I got there and realized the road was under reconstruction. It was down to one lane, and our side was parked. So I'm just sitting there on the little solid red line, just waiting. My dad calls me at 1:30, wakes himself up, setting an alarm. Bob, how's the trip? Where you at? I said, I'm in Pennsylvania. What? How could you do that? There should be no traffic. I said, Dad, the road's closed. What time does it say you're going to get home? About 4:35. Boy, I don't know how it works, but maybe you should have listened to your phone. Okay, thanks, Dad. But, we trust in all types of things. Tomorrow, Lauren and I are got to fly to London to go to some meetings over in Wales. And, I fly all the time. I flew like 86,000 miles on United Airlines last year. I never stopped once to stick my head in the cope, when you come in the door and you turn right to head down the aisle, right? Unless you're in the first class and sometimes you turn left. But most planes you turn right. I've never stuck my head in the cockpit and said, how you all feeling today? Are you good? Any fights with the spouses? Anything got you upset? The guys who are dragging the gasoline lines and all the other stuff down below, I never talked to any of them. I go back usually to 8A, buckle in, and wait for the big reward. You think of what you're doing when you fly. You're buckled in to a thing that weighs hundreds of tons, that if it hurtles itself down the runway fast enough, it will get up in the air. You're just buckled in by this little strap. Click. Thinking, oh, this is good. Let's go for it. We put faith in all types of things. Whether we have faith, sometimes people say we live in a faithless society, and there is no bigger lie than that. It is a matter of who and what we have faith in. Our society has plenty of faith. The issue is in what? And each of us have plenty of faith. The issue is in what or in who. Right? We count on our friends, and what happens when our friends let us down? Oh, that's not good. Right? We count on our relatives sometimes, and they let us down. We count on ourselves sometimes, and we always let ourselves down. Well, this morning, I'd like for us to look at the prophecy and the journey of faith, and in the few minutes that we have here together. Right? It starts in Isaiah chapter 7. I think of this as God's birth announcement. Right? Again, Isaiah, about 700 years prior to the birth of Christ, in the 7th chapter we read, therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive, which alone is not easy. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. And Emmanuel means what? God with us. God's birth announcement. God says she is going to give birth to a son. There was no blue cakes. There was no blue confetti. There was no blue food dye coming out of balloons, right? All the ways people announce whether they're having a boy or girl online now. God just says, she's going to give birth to a son. This is big. Because the people had been waiting and waiting and waiting for the God's promised Messiah. Been waiting for him. And God is basically saying, he's coming. He is coming. Now imagine if we said, hey, so-and-so is coming. It's only going to be 700 years, but be patient. Right? The prophet says, and she will conceive and give birth to a son and call him Emmanuel. It is God's announcement of the event that is going to change the world forever. You like invitations to big things? I've been to a Super Bowl. this is a big thing. This is a big thing. In our culture, it's sort of like the biggest worship service in many ways, because the whole nation stops to watch, or at least watch the commercials, if you don't like the game, right? But it's a big thing, the fact that Jesus was coming. So here we have the announcement. Then, there's the announcement. Now, if all of us is like, if this big thing is happening, where is it going to happen? In the GPS of my life, where am I punching in? And Micah chapter 5, verse 2, we read, "But you, Bethlehem, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are of old from ancient times." That stump that we talked about on Monday, there's a shoot coming. There's a shoot coming. And there is one that is going to come, and Bethlehem, little tiny Bethlehem, that's where the party's going to be. So in many ways, God then gives the destination. Party time, Bethlehem. Destination. Be there, show up. And this prophecy is set in place, sort of the coordinates of the heavens, right? A star over Bethlehem, like all these things that we read about in Scripture, that we see on Christmas cards, that we sing about in Christmas carols and hymns. All these things are there, and it is the announcement of all time that God is about to intervene on behalf of us. On behalf of us. You see, and then what do we read about? The Magi, right? The wise men. You see a picture of them right here, right? Just poking their way along. They were from Persia. Anyone know what country is modern today? Used to be Persia? Iran. Iran is not a short walk from Iran to Bethlehem. So these three rulers, right, they're heading off. They got gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And they said, we got to get here. Where are you going? We're going to the star. We are going to the star. Where is it? The star. We're going to the star. Imagine, if you were doing that today, have you ever thought about navigating by the stars? My brother-in-law he loves to sail. He has like a real sailboat, like 50 foot. And he and my sister-in-law, about 12 or 15 years ago, decided we're going to sail around the world. Sail around the world. And this was pre-GPS and all this other. So how are you going to do this? Says, by the stars. Really? Oh yeah, charts, but you got to follow by the stars. So I asked them, I said, so what was your biggest journey? And they said, we left the Galapagos Islands off of the coast of Ecuador, and we headed to the South Pacific. And we had about a 3,800-mile sail with no land in sight. Took them about 40 days. Sailing by the stars, and they said, and all of a sudden, on the horizon one morning, there was land. And they had gotten there. And but I think, here's the Magi, we're going to the star. And Matthew even picks this up, right? In Matthew chapter 2, this verse from Micah is quoted, right? When we read, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, right, where is the one who's been born the King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. They knew who was there. They were trying to figure out the fine points. We got into the area, now we need the zip code. Right, where are we going to find him? And when King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. And he called together all the chief priests and teachers of the law, and he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem, Judea, they replied, for this is what was written by the prophet. And they were talking right here about Micah. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. And then when Herod heard this, the Magi, he called them secretly and found out the exact time the star had appeared. Herod was threatened by a baby. How many of you have ever been threatened by a baby? They sort of lay there. They don't do a whole lot. Right? Just lay there in all their cuteness. But the wise men went and they found Jesus, and they brought their gifts, and then they went back a different way. So I brought sort of our crutch from home, right? Our manger scene. How many of you got a manger scene somewhere in your house? All right, now I'm going to encourage you to do this correctly. All right, we got the whole gang here. We got Joseph and Mary, got baby Jesus, got a shepherd, got lots of animals. But always over on the side here, we got the three kings. The three kings were not in the manger. Three kings. So if you want to correct your manger scene at home, you should do this. Put them down the hallway. Let them be on the way. All right, because that's where they were. They're on their way. They're on the journey. They're on the journey and heading that way, headed toward Jesus. Headed toward Jesus. You know, they were passionate in their pursuit. You had to be passionate to do what they did. And the question then becomes for us, how passionate are we in our pursuit? Each and every day, how much do we take for granted? Or do we ever have the feeling that nothing can stop me in my pursuit? Nothing can stop me in my pursuit. So we have a couple things going on here, right? So first we have the announcement, then we have the destination, and finally in Isaiah chapter 9, we have the reason. The reason for to us a child is born, and to us a son is given. And the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. And he will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. And the zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. Again, back to Isaiah, 700 years before the birth of Jesus. This baby that's coming, this baby that we anticipate during the Advent season, this is no regular baby, right? Because this baby is coming with gifts and an agenda and a giftedness. This baby is given to us, right? To us a son is given. To us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called, talk about a list of credentials for your card. Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Prince of Peace. And it says, in the greatness of the government and peace there will be no end. And he will reign on David's throne. Remember, the stump and the shoot that we talked about on Monday was the stump of Jesse, which was of the house of David. God was tying all of the pieces together in this prophecy about the one who was going to come, who would be born in a manger and eventually die on a cross, and then happily abandon a tomb. See, we are people who've been blessed beyond words. God sent his son, born in the most humble place. Man, a manger. You know what a manger is? It's a feeding trough. You ever gone into a barn to a feeding trough? It's not a real clean place. It's not a real pleasant place. It is not an odor-free place. Oh Lord, it is not odor-free. But God said this is the perfect place. This is the perfect place. Because Jesus came humbly for us. That is the gift of Advent. That is the gift of Christmas. That is the gift that we celebrate. You know, you guys just have this, there's a speed bump between now and Christmas, and it's called final exams. Do not let your final exams rob you of the joy of the manger. Do not let that happen. If you let that happen, the exams win. Let God win. I'm saying, study for your exams. No, like, all right, God, you got this. I'm focused on Christmas. No, be responsible. But don't let your heart, don't let the joy of your heart be robbed Anticipate, anticipate, anticipate. See, God sent his son to this humble place because we need him. God doesn't need us. But he looked at us and said, you need him. You need him. And part of the miracle is that God sent his son for us. All right. Christmas gifts. How many of you open it? How many of you open your Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve? People are like, do you call them Christmas Eve gifts? No. Right? No, Christmas gifts. Like, when do you open them? Right? That baby Jesus, that is God's gift for us. Look at all the hoopla, right? I mean, we got trees everywhere. We got garland hanging. We got lights. We got all this stuff going on. Why? Because it's a celebration. It is not about evergreens. Evergreens are a symbol because they are evergreen. They are always alive. They never go into dormancy and look like they're dead. They are always alive. They are always green. And Jesus is always alive. You see that gift? When we get any gift, we have our choice of three things that we do with it. All right? First, how many of you are rattlers? All right, see what's in there? Sean's like, yep, that's me. Right? Some people open the gift and you embrace it. Say, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this sweater that I will never wear. That's what you're thinking in your head, but not while you're smiling and hugging it. Like, thank you, it's perfect. Right? Perfect for next year's Yankee swap. Right? But some people open the gift and embrace it. Some people open the gift and they set it aside because it's not what they thought. And some people leave it in the corner unopened and untouched. You know, when it comes to God's promises to be with us in the journey of life, God wants us to embrace this gift. You know, and all of us, if we're truthful, there are times that we set it aside. The busyness of life, like, God, I got this, Jesus, you're with me, thank you. I'll get back to you in a bit. This Christmas, it is my prayer that we celebrate as a people who are gifted beyond belief. Who are gifted beyond belief. Who have this gift that is promised us on our journey to be with us. Be with us. God came, God with us, Emmanuel. And what did Jesus promise on his way out? And I will be with you. Emmanuel did not stop. Emmanuel continues. God with us. He doesn't promise us that our journeys will be easy. He doesn't promise us that our journeys may not have disappointments. But he does promise that he's with us through them. So this Christmas, rejoice and embrace the Savior. May you be richly blessed on your journey in faith. You know, this journey is to celebrate the depth of God's love for you. And why is the journey worth it? Because we know who's at the end. And the end is the baby Jesus, who grew up to be our Savior and love us immensely. So have a Merry Christmas. Next Wednesday is our Christmas chapel. We hope you'll come and celebrate. Next Monday is evening chapel. So go in peace.